on the investigation into vandalism on the Lincoln Memorial Reflecting Pool. Today, Bethesda resident and former Olympic canoeist David Hearn was in court where he pleaded not guilty to a felony destruction of property charge. Now, if convicted, he could get up to 10 years in prison. And joining us now live is Nima Romani, a former federal prosecutor who's been following the developments of this case. Nima, thanks for taking the time to be with us this afternoon.
Megan, thanks for having me as always, making a federal case out of the reflecting pool. So this one's going to be interesting.
Yeah, let's talk about this. Based on everything you're seeing and hearing, could Hearn really face 10 years?
I think if he's convicted, and that's a big if, this is not an easy case for the Department of Justice. I would be surprised if he gets anything less than probation. Here's someone who's a former Olympian, no criminal history, and I think he's going to have a pretty good defense in this case that what he did was not intentional, it was not malicious, that the liner was already loose. I think the government is really going to have to prove that this was more than $1,000 in damage, which is the threshold for it to be a felony under federal law. And even if they get that conviction, Megan, and we know that the DC jury pool can be pretty liberal, I would be surprised if the judge sentences him to any significant period of time. Prison time at all would be really a surprise, actually a shocker to me. It's not a very serious case. There's potential defenses here, so I think it's something that really should have been pleaded out to an infraction, a misdemeanor, something mild. Doesn't strike me as a felony federal trial, in my opinion.
Yeah, one of Hearn's attorneys saying the evidence is, quote, weak. Do you agree with that? And how important will evidence be as this plays out?
Well, Megan, there's good video in this case, and obviously I haven't viewed that video. I think it's going to really be dispositive here. And the one thing about video evidence is it doesn't lie. You know, witnesses can lie, criminal defendants lie all the time. So we're talking about approximately 2 feet of liner. Was it already loose? Was Hearn just touching it? Or was he maliciously, intentionally pulling it off? I think that's going to be the determining factor here. Obviously, if he's going to government property, he's destroying it, he's defacing it, he's acting in a destructive manner, that's going to be something that people get charged for every day. But if he's just touching the pool, he's messing around with the liner that was already loose, I don't think any jury in any jurisdiction in this country is going to convict him. So that's the great thing about video evidence. It is everywhere, and certainly around monuments in Washington, D.C. So we'll know soon enough. I would be surprised if this case takes more than a few days.
What do you think we could see next, Nima, from Jeanine Pirro's office, if anything, after we saw such a large press conference update when this was first announced? What do you think comes next?
Look, and I like Jeanine and I respect her, but sometimes you overextend yourself when you're a prosecutor. We've seen a lot of cases recently by Pirro's office, other U.S. attorneys' offices when it comes to assaults, destruction of government property. Probably the most infamous one that everyone talked about was the Subway sandwich case that was prosecuted as a felony. Those jurors came back real quickly not guilty, and that's not what you want. It's not starting a case, it's getting across the finish line. And we've seen the Department of Justice lose a lot of very high-profile cases recently. They start with this big press conference, they have the FBI, they have other federal law enforcement agencies there, but if you get a case dismissed by a judge or not guilty by a jury, it doesn't mean a whole lot. You got to prove your case beyond a reasonable doubt to 12 out of 12 jurors unanimously.
Yeah, and as you said, this could be quick. If there's even a trial at all, we're hearing 2027, but we know Hearn's next hearing is set for August. Anything, Nima, that we should be watching for in the interim?
Not really. I mean, obviously they're going to try to get the case dismissed. They'll argue selective, vindictive prosecution, that this is political. I don't think that's going to work because of the nature of the charges in this particular defendant. But, you know, the vast majority of cases do plead out, 98%. This is not going to be one of them because this is a strong defense case, and you really don't have this in the federal system. By the time federal prosecutors go to the grand jury and get an indictment, Megan, usually these cases are bulletproof. I's are dotted, T's are crossed, but not so here. This is a decent defense case, so expect to see this go all the way to trial sometime in 2027.
Nima Romani, attorney, former federal prosecutor, with a lot of insight on this one for us. As usual, thank you so much, Nima, for taking the time to be with us this afternoon.
Of course, Megan, thanks for having me as always. Talk real soon.
You too. Take care. And